Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of November 23rd through the 29th. And during that time, we'll have a waxing crescent moon, and that could be a time of heightened emotions, but it's a really good time to kind of buckle down and get started on those things that we've just started on the new moon. We then have the first quarter that comes in on the 28th of the month, and that can feel a little impulsive and patient and very just active. Maybe it's hard to get your mind to settle down and concentrate. It's kind of like a little mini new moon, that kind of energy. So, or I'm sorry, full moon is what I meant to say. So that does come in on the 28th, and it's also Thanksgiving on the 27th if you're in the United States. So happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully you don't have to work on the 28th. But if you do, just remember that it might be a little bit harder to buckle down. Of course, that always happens after a holiday. So keep those moon energies in mind, Sagittarius, as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Sagittarius. So, as always, please take what resonates today and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading: be bold and make the first move. All right, let's see what the Sagittarius Collective has going on for this week. Okay, cards, you want to shuffle? Would you like to play along? Here we go. That's better. My fun weekly reminder this week as I'm shuffling is that you get out into nature this week. So find maybe a hike that you like to do, or a park that you like to go, hang out, just get in nature if you can. Maybe feed some animals, feed some birds, feed some ducks. Or find somewhere new. Find a place that you've never been before in nature and go hang out there. So if you can get near water, that would be great. If you're near the ocean, the rest of us are jealous. So please get out and enjoy those ocean waves, since the rest of us can't. But if you're near a lake or a stream, sometimes water is just a very relaxing, meditative sound. It is for me anyway. But just get out in nature and just really enjoy the miracle of nature a little bit this week, and kind of let that be your meditation. So that is just my fun weekly reminder for the week. All right, Sagittarius, November 23rd through the 29th. Be bold and make the first move. Let's see what you guys have going on. Your overall message card. Interesting. I just had this card for the last reading I did, which was Scorpio. But Sagittarius, this is about you having some sort of new passion. So if you're going to be bold and make the first move, it could be something that you're newly passionate about, or something that that used to be a passion of yours that maybe you're getting back into right now. So it's something that you really, it's exciting for you. It's something you love to do, love to do or think about, whatever this might be for you. This, of course, tarot is a template. It can go in so many different directions. So, but it's something new, and you're kind of watching these buds grow, and kind of, kind of a newfound passion, either for something new or something that you used to do that you're kind of re-entering in on. Okay, what is your current situation? Is a Tower. So there could have been some sort of disruption you've had that's kind of pushing you in this direction. Towers aren't always, sometimes they seem negative because it is a disruption. But if you have a tower moment or something that goes wrong, some sort of delay or some sort of, I call this could be like a test, some sort of challenge or something that just comes up in your life. But if it brings you back to a passion that you've had previously, or it points you to a new passion, how can that be a wrong thing, right? So sometimes those disruptions are just there to kind of shake us up a little bit and move us in the correct direction. So it's just an adjustment. And even though it seems like a pain in the butt at the time when it's happening, it's like, oh, it's never a fun thing to have something unexpected come up, or something that that maybe you feel like you're unprepared for, but they're there to definitely mold us, move us, shape us, point us in different directions. Maybe you're just a little off course, and it's there to correct a little bit. What is at the root of this situation is the Five of Swords. So could be that maybe there were some words exchanged. I always feel like if you are the person holding the swords, holding these words, that maybe you've said a couple things out loud to people and some feelings were hurt, and you're kind of feeling that. That could be the disruption. It could be the Tower. It could be that you upset someone and they decided to not come through with something you were relying on them for, that sort of thing. So, make sure that you're being very careful with your words. And I feel like that's maybe and this could also be just some new communication that comes in for you. You could be one of these people back here. So it kind of depends on the situation, but fives are usually about disruptive things that have to do with communication and words and that sort of thing. In your recent past is the Six of Cups. So this might have something to do with something from this is kind of our card of nostalgia and sometimes old friendships. It could be something with an old friendship that maybe there's some sort of disruption there about some sort of communication that either did or didn't come in, some sort of, and maybe it's just a misunderstanding. So make sure, but it is kind of pushing you towards a new passion. And as an example, I would be like, um, let's say that you have a friend who did say something that wasn't nice to you and communicated something nice, or that was unnice, and you decide, you know what, I'm not going to call that friend this week. I'm not going to, or we had lunch set up and I'm just going to cancel and say I'm not available. It's kind of a disruption, and instead you go do a thing that you haven't done for a long time. Let's say that you take that time that you were going to and you go write, and you're like, you know what, I used to write all the time. And so that's what I mean by sometimes a disruption. It can kind of make you uncover either a passion thing or something that you used to be passionate about. What is on your mind this week is the Wheel of Fortune. So there is some sort of change afoot here. It's like the wheels are turning. You're turning in a new direction. You're learning how to be a new person. Again, it could have something to do with this friendship. You're learning how to maybe do things without that friend, or less and less, if that's some sort of communication. Or, again, it might just be like that you do need to clear up whatever this miscommunication was. Just have the conversation. That itself could be the disruption too. Like, hey, we need to talk because, some words were said and maybe I need to understand and just kind of clear the air a little bit. But that can be a little bit of a disruption. And then maybe the wheel is just turning in your fortune to something a little more calm so that you don't feel like so that you're not hurt by these words or by this misunderstanding. So, and again, your overall card was be bold and make the first move. So it could be that you're supposed to approach this friend and kind of get the air cleared. What is just ahead of you this week? Three of Wands. So you're thinking about travel. You're thinking about, something that you're moving forward here with. This could be some new venture that you're trying to get into, but you also could just be thinking about vacation and travel and something. And does it have to do with the situation? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, you're kind of thinking about moving forward, and hopefully you just get this behind you. I like that this person's back is to this problem, whatever this tower is, like almost like the tower, the disruption comes in and you're like, okay, I'm done with that, moving on. So almost like it's a little blip on the radar there. What is in your advice position here is the star card, which I will cover with my thumb because recently YouTube has decided that this star card image is offensive. I don't know how anyone could think the star card is offensive because this is about direction, guidance, being on course, following what's in the stars, So this is in your advice position. If the universe is pushing you in a particular direction, go for it, go with it. Don't let yourself not be guided by the direction that the universe wants you to go into. And we will cover her with a little crystal there so they don't want to there we go, to ding me for that image, which I thought was very silly last week. All right, what is beyond your control this week, Sagittarius, is the Hermit card. So, whatever this disruption, it may cause you to think, what is the direction I need to go in? Let me go in and think about this. Let me go in and think about this trip that I'm planning. Let me go in and think about my life a little bit. So it's kind of beyond your control to really seek inner wisdom, to just take a little time for yourself, to do a little bit of, have some solitude and think about just inner quest, inner searching. What is it that you really want? Really asking yourself some of those deep questions. What is your secret desire, or what you're trying to avoid, is the Six of Pentacles. So, I always ask when someone gets this card, when I'm doing an in-person reading, is what is happening in this card? And I will ask you that same question right now. You might have been asked this before on a previous reading, but some people will say this person is obviously giving to these people. And some people will say these people are obviously receiving from this person. So it's kind of like I feel like whatever your answer is kind of where you are right now. And this is something that is secret desire trying to avoid. So are you trying to avoid giving? Are you trying to avoid receiving? Or is it your secret desire to give or secret desire to receive? So that's a lot of information in one little card position, but that's kind of your big question of the week. And you need to ask yourself that, is it my secret desire to give? Am I trying to avoid giving? Is it my secret desire to receive? Am I trying to avoid receiving? So ask yourself those questions, kind of see where you lie on those scales and see how that applies to your current situation, because I'm sure there's some reason there that will apply for you. And your outcome position, Sagittarius, is the High Priestess. So this, I feel like the High Priestess is another card of going within, much like the Hermit. And I mentioned at the onset of this reading to get out into nature. You can do that hermit time in nature, and also the High Priestess, who is about, really about listening to your intuition, listening to that inner voice, and also watching for those signs in the universe. And there's no place to watch for signs in the universe than nature. A lot of times you'll see an animal that you don't see every day, or an animal interaction that is maybe very close to something that's going on in your life, just an interaction between a couple of birds. And it's like, oh, it could just give you little moments of clarity. That's why nature is so completely fascinating to me. But it might be, but that is your outcome here, is that it's whatever this is going on for you, it's going to push you into really trusting your intuition a little bit more. Maybe you misread something back here and you're like, oh, well, my intuition actually said don't do this thing, because then that thing would happen, and I totally ignored it. So we're all learning all the time on how to use that intuition more and more, and trust it more and more. Just trust, as you go within to look for answers, just trust what your intuition's telling you. So what is hidden from you this week, Sagittarius, is a little bit of self-indulgence. So while you're working on all of this, you're also not really thinking about yourself or indulging yourself. I feel like you're just hard at work on a lot of these issues and a lot of things that are going on. So again, be bold and make the first move. If that's some kind of clearing up this situation here, this exchange of words, and whoever that may be, again, it could be someone from your past, it could be a family member or something, but there's some nostalgia kind of involved there. Go ahead and make that first move. And if it's just to clear the air, then sometimes it's just the best thing to do to make sure everybody's on the same page, right? All right, let's get a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message for Sagittarius. And the card that comes up for you here is to strengthen your gifts. Is that referring here to the intuition I was talking about? Could be. And again, it could be that you missed something, and you're kind of kicking yourself. So don't do that. Everything is just a learning situation. So learn and move on, and you'll know next time. That's just what learning is all about. Okay, what does Sagittarius need to do in the way of self-care this week? Self-care for Sagittarius, and your card is optimism. If you're going to make up stories in your head about people and circumstances, please make them love stories with happy endings. So I'm going to go back to this situation here. Do you need to clear the air? Were there things exchanged? Maybe you don't have quite all the information and you're making these assumptions. Your intuition might be telling you one thing and it could be something completely different. So definitely make sure that you're taking care of this situation. Be bold, make the first move. And are those some of your gifts? Maybe that's a way to strengthen those gifts, is to, just clear the air, approach people, and be very, be a little bit more direct maybe than you normally are, which is hard. That's, if you're not big on confrontation, I'm not, and I totally get that. So it makes me so uncomfortable to have to go to someone and say, okay, I'm going to confront you, and blah, blah, blah. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it, but you have to do it sometimes. So it does make you stronger. So Sagittarius, thank you so much for being here. I hope there's something in this reading that you can take away and use in your week. If you're comfortable sharing, drop me a comment down below. Let me know, did you miss some sort of impending tower moment based on some intuition that you ignored? And are you uncomfortable approaching people, to apologize or to clear the air? Is that hard for you? If it is, we've got your back. Go ahead and get it done. It's just something, it's just a part of life, something that we all have to learn how to do. You get better at it as you do it. So thank you so much for being here again. If you like my reading style, please hit the like and subscribe button. Not only will it help my channel, which I certainly appreciate, but it'll help you find me next week where we can see if this energy continues or if there's something totally new here for you. So thank you so much, Sagittarius, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.